What's up, it's Marco back in, and today, to celebrate Halloween, I want to talk about the scariest thing to USMNT's national team. It's not Mexico, it's not the date October 10th, but injuries. Yeah, I know, injuries. The thing we want to talk about and think about as little as possible, but man, with how the team's looking right now, it's something that needs to be addressed. We look at our star players, Christian Pulisc and Tyler Adams are basically injury prone at this point. Giovanni Reyna has missed a large chunk at the beginning of the season, and we had a huge prospect in Nick Taitague have to retire due to his injury issues. So yeah, there are a lot of problems with this squad, and I feel like there are a couple of roots to it, but I feel like this is an American issue that we need to talk about. And what I mean by that is I feel like this is disproportionately affecting American athletes. And it's not just on the soccer field as well. When you look at the NBA, man, tons of their players are injury prone. Basically every American star. I look at Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, even LeBron at this point. Like, they're all injury prone. And at this point, the NBA Finals has become a lottery on who stays healthy long enough. So yeah, I feel like this is an American problem. And it's not just breaking a bone or having a freak accident. Pulisc and Adams, they have frequent muscular issues. That's something that it's really preventable. And sure, there are some players who are just injury prone naturally. Think Michael Owen, Ledley King, most of Arsenal in the 2010s. But I feel like this is an American problem. So what could be the cause of this issue? One thing that I see commonly brought up and definitely has some weight to it is the fixture congestion. NBA players were definitely talking about this being cause for their injuries, and I'm looking at the soccer field, and that could definitely be a problem. I mean, between league games, Champions League games, cup games, especially towards the end of the season when stars have to play in them, and then you have international breaks and summer tournaments, and a lot of these players don't even get a break. I mean, there's a summer tournament every summer. There's international breaks every window. Like, especially in places like England that don't have those winter breaks, man, they're playing basically year round. So is that a huge problem? Yes, but I don't feel like it's the only issue. I mean, when you look at the NBA, all those guys were injury prone, barring LeBron, were having those issues before the pandemic. And in fact, I saw a report from, I'll link in the description, this guy Carlos Lago Peñas, who found that injuries in football or soccer have been going down as a whole since the 2000s. And this is not just injuries in general, but like relapses and injuries. Guys are playing more. It's not just like they're taking time off. Like, of course this is getting better because there are increases in technology. There are increases in medical fields. Doctors are getting better. Of course there are going to be more players playing. We're going to be dealing with injuries better. So fixture congestion is a problem, but we are dealing with better, and it seems to be disproportionately affecting American athletes. So is there something that we do wrong? Well, one thing that I commonly see thought about with American athletes, especially in the basketball realm, is something called specialization. Now, what specialization is basically like an overconcentration into one particular area. So you're only focusing on one sport or one particular action too much. And what that does is it causes your muscles to get too worn down. So you have, let's say you're a pitcher who's only pitching. You're doing that for so long, eventually it's going to go out and you'll need Tommy John surgery. You're a basketball player who just keeps taking those jump shots, your legs are going to get tired. Man, if you're a soccer player, I know if you played, you know that if you play long enough, for too hard for too long, your hamstring, you start feeling that. You start feeling your groin. You start feeling your calves. You start cramping up a lot. Like, this is something that definitely happens. And in addition to that, when you do specialization, some muscles get underdeveloped. And that because they're not being used as much in those particular movements. You only do so many movements on a soccer field, especially during training. So those become more susceptible to injuries as they're underdeveloped. And in addition, because they're underdeveloped, you can compensate for them, putting more weight on those muscles that you're using a lot more. So if you only practice specific movements, then those muscles will get hurt. You'll have muscles that are underdeveloped, and that'll hurt you. So the theory around specialization is that when you're only playing one sport, that happens more often. But when you're playing multiple sports, that can help a lot. So let's say you're a soccer player, you only do so many movements on the soccer field. Once basketball season starts, you're doing a whole new set of things. And with preseason, you get eased into it, and those muscles can continue to get developed. Keep getting developed in the spring, and you'll be fine once soccer season rolls around. But if you're only doing one sport, those muscles will get underdeveloped, and you'll have wear and tear, and it can just be a bad thing. And I feel like there's definitely some weight to this, because when I mentioned those basketball players early, earlier. Sure, LeBron James is breaking down right now, but he was very durable throughout his career, and I feel like we all know that. Or if you don't know, he had a big football background growing up. And going further with basketball, Michael Jordan had a huge baseball background. And I'm thinking about other players. Tim Duncan with a huge swimming background. Tim Howard for soccer, he had a huge basketball background. Tom Brady, he was a catcher. And this definitely didn't hurt anybody. Like, you could still be great in your sport while taking some time off. Like, man, Jordan took a year off of baseball, and he's the best basketball player ever by a huge margin. So, like, specialization, I feel like that is an issue, but to say that's the only problem is just wrong. Especially because when you look overseas and you look at their academies, they have players who are only playing soccer through, like, their entire lives, and they don't have this huge injury issue. Like, man, they got, like, U12 teams and academies, and those players are basically only playing soccer week in, week out, and they don't have this huge injury issue. I mentioned it's getting better, so I feel like it'd be a huge leap in logic to say that specialization is the main issue for soccer players. So, what could it be? Well, I feel like that specialization isn't the main issue, but it's part of it. I feel like the main issue comes from how you train. Because I do feel like those issues of muscles getting overused and underdeveloped, I feel like that's still a problem that are hampering a lot of players. But it doesn't seem to be happening in European circles. So one thing I want to talk about is Tim Grover. He's the former trainer of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. He helped Dwayne Wade overcome his injury issues. And he says that the way you're training can definitely cause injuries to occur more. In NBA circles, overuse of like resistance bands and not getting too hard in practice, or not going too hard in practice, like that can cause huge issues. Like when you're not weight training, when you're not going too hard, your body becomes less accustomed to things like when you're going up for jump balls, when you're landing off set pieces and just getting hit by players. You're not ready for that actual contact. And because of those issues, you're left unprepared and you can become more susceptible to those injuries. When I look at European training schedules, they've got set days out scheduled for weightlifting, scheduled for working with explosiveness. And I'm not too sure if we have those programs over in America. And if we don't, those can definitely be cause those injuries. And if we're able to replicate that European model, maybe we'll be able to help reduce these injuries and make our players a lot better and less injury prone. Though it should be said for that, fixture congestion is a huge problem with that, because if you're playing 3 days, if you only have 3 days off, you can't have time for weight training. So yeah, fixture congestion is definitely an issue. And maybe we just have a team full of Michael Owens. I don't know, but maybe it's something else that I didn't think about, but injuries are a huge problem with us, and it's something we got to talk about, something that needs to be addressed. So yeah, that's all I talk about. Happy Halloween, and one huge knock on wood, because I just talked about a bunch of players and injuries, so hopefully that prevents stuff. Yeah, that's all I talk about. I'll see ya.